Now, still speaking on Pan-African Parliament, a new leadership is set to be announced at the Pan-African Parliament election ongoing in Midrand, South Africa. The African legislative arm of the African Union is holding an ordinary session this week. Key on the agenda on Wednesday is the election of a new bureau, including the president of the Pan-African Parliament. South Sudan Member of Parliament Albino Abug will take on Zimbabwe's Fortune Chirumbira and Malawi's Yeremia Chihana. An attempt to elect a new leadership was botched last year, and the House descended into chaos for 4 days. A member of the Pan-African Parliament and Economic Freedom Fighters, the EFF leader, Julius Malema, was among those pushing for a rotational leadership system. Now joining me on the news is the Executive Director, Nile Youth Development Actions, John Youhanes. Thank you so much for joining me, John.
Thank you very much, Blessing.
All right, good evening, John. Now, let's go straight into the agenda for today. What exactly is your general assessment of the ongoing PAP election?
Well, the ongoing Pan-African Parliament elections, so far we have seen much of improvement on the conduct of the elections, unlike to the unfortunate events that took place last year. And as an African citizen, we see this Pan-African institution as a voice of the African citizen. And it is a platform for people's participation in economic development and integration, in which, through the parliament, we will assure a free movement of people, free movement of trade, among others. So we, as a citizen of this continent, we don't see a reason for our representative, the MPs, to have that bit of misunderstanding on how the business of the parliament have been conducted. But also in the positive notes, I just received the news a while ago. I'm a bit away from Midrand, but I'm in Pretoria for other engagement. And the news is that Honorable Fortune Zefania is the current elect president of Pan-African Parliament for the next 3 years. So we would like to congratulate him in that win.
All right, congratulations to him from here as well. Now, John, we know that this is not the first time that this election is going on, and I would like to ask you personally, between the last election and now, have you seen any improvement? Have you noticed any improvement? Also, is there a mechanism for aggrieved participants to get like post-election redress?
Of course, this year there is much of improvement because the African Union Commission Office of the Legal Counsel is there from day one, guiding the members of the Pan-African Parliament on the set rules and regulation, particularly into the principle of rotation, in which you have heard you mention earlier that the East African Caucus had thrown their full weight to support a candidate for the Republic of South Sudan, who is Honorable Albino Abog, who is capable of leading the parliament for the next 3 years. But giving the consideration for the principle of rotation, that has not yet been ratified by member states of the African Union, and that is to say that it is not yet into force. It is not yet effective. However, with the spirit of solidarity and aspiration for an African Parliament to be independent body rather than its current advisory role, the East African candidate is withdrawn to give a chance for the Southern African to connect the candidate, and hopefully we have a president-elect right now. So the improvement is the clearance of the laws and regulation that bind the members to follow. So there is a much awareness on how the election have been conducted and how the rules that are set on the treaties that establishing the Pan-African institution are also respected. So there is a bit of improvement on that, and we wish in the future elections for the recurrences of misunderstanding not to happen again, because for us as citizens of Africa, it gives us that sense of lack of trust from the institution if they show us the negative side of everything. So we are hoping in the future this principle will be abided by the parliament members, and we will hope to have a fully pledged parliament that listens to the aspiration of the African citizen. So I have seen that there is a much improvement in that regards.
Great. Now, it really is great news once again that we have a president-elect to that regard. Now, from what we hear, many have said that the visibility of the AU will be boosted by robust legislation. What is your opinion on that?
Of course, the continent, we don't lack policies in the continent, but what we want is the implementation of those policies, because if we have a dozen of policies that are not implemented, it will not serve the continent at any stage. So we are hoping the member state to be serious in implementing those policies, be the free trade and be the free movement of the people, the African passport that will allow the citizen of the continent to move freely and work in any member state that they are aspiring to work for. So policies need to be accompanied with implementation. So our urge is, we urge all the policymakers not to produce more policies, because the continent doesn't lack policies. We just need to implement what we have. And the Pan-African Parliament is a very critical institution in achieving the Africa we all want. So let's move for implementing those policies that we do have currently. If not, let's see how policies can be reviewed and ratified further. But we really want implementation of those policies, and this is what we lack in our continent.
Rightly said, John. Policy implementation is key. Now, talking about implementation and involvement, how involved is South Sudan, that's Africa's youngest country, in the whole process? And also, what challenges are the delegates facing currently?
Well, South Sudan is the member of the African Union, and is a proud young nation that is struggling within itself. But our contribution in the region is well noted, and we have aspiration of leading the continent at the highest level. And if not today, maybe in the future, that we will have a candidate and the opportunity to lead such a Pan-African institution. South Sudan is contributing a lot in regard to implementation of peace even in the country. It reflects to the neighboring countries as well. So as a new member, we are still learning from other members of the union, but we are hoping that the country will have opportunity to lead one of the key institutions of the African Union, like the Pan-African Parliament and other institutions. So our contribution is there, and we are hoping to increase our participation in all the regional organizations that are aspiring for integrated and peaceful Africa. So yes, treatment is well, and it is our duties as Africans to promote the Africa we want, integrated and peaceful for all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much, John, for your time. Really do appreciate it. And we're looking forward to, getting more updates on the Pan-African Parliament election as it proceeds. Thank you once again for your time.
Thank you very much, and thanks to New Central Television.
Always a pleasure.